Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Today is December the 19th, 2021. Welcome to Wall Street to Bay Street, Sunday Chai with Sharia Portfolio Canada. My name is Nadeem.
My name is Shamil. Get your chai ready and let's get into the swing of things. So Nadeem, pretty big week for the market again today. I guess we should start off by, we saw Chairman Powell give a speech this week. Can you maybe expand a little more on what happened and talk a little more about it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, probably the most important meeting of the year. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell was basically making public statements with the Senate panel, and it was a pivotal time where the Federal Reserve pretty much indicated that, first of all, they're going to be the tapering is going to be faster than expected. So the number of bond purchases that they're doing every month is actually going to be sped up, meaning that the policy is actually tighter than previously indicated. And the other thing is that they also did indicate that you could expect 3 rate hikes in 2022. So getting some clarity, and especially after COVID, we've had a period of quantitative easing and interest rates down to zero. But now what we have here is a pivotal point where the Fed is coming out, shifting policy. And a lot of this kind of has to do with a couple of things. I mean, the U.S. economy has been on pretty strong footing. It has been growing. And of course, inflation is at a multi-decade high at 25 years or something like that in the U.S. And, I would say in most other countries around the world as well.
Speaking of inflation, can you maybe walk us through what the market is thinking about the inflation right now?
Sure. I mean, so right now, for example, the last inflation number we got was 6.4% in the US. Around the world, you're looking at the OECD forecast, for example, is also pretty high. And right now, the last quarter, you're looking at 5.2%. Even in Canada, it's a little bit less. The latest reading was 4.5%. However, going forward, the OECD is expecting inflation to kind of come down. Again, this is just one forecast from one non-governmental body. However, it's tough to kind of expect, is this going to happen or not? One of the other indicators that the market tends to look at is the U.S. 10-year Treasury yield, which kind of can tend to be a good indicator as far as what the bond market is saying. And sometimes the bond market can be a very reliable indicator, when it comes to stuff such as inflation. And what the 10-year yield is basically telling us is that, yes, we've seen rates kind of come off the floor a little bit here and go up. It's at about 1.5%. However, still way off its high and still, historically speaking, at relatively low levels. So meaning to say, I guess you could say, if, the bond market is kind of expecting inflation to not be a perpetual long-term thing, if that was the case, I think we probably would have seen rates, the 10-year rate much higher. But for the time being, we've gotten a little bit of a bump up in the 10-year yield, but still historically at decade lows.
I guess the follow-up question I have from that is, how did the market take all this in?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very volatile week in the market. We've seen a lot of whipsawing here going on with some up days and a set of down days. I think going into the Fed meeting, which happened on a Wednesday, nobody was, I don't think anybody, the market or a lot of investors didn't want to be a hero and try to make investment bets prior to the major statement. Once we got some clarity, I think the market kind of did stabilize. But we're seeing, the Federal Reserve, of course, inflation is always there. One of the other things that I guess, that made the headlines this week that also created some volatility was the Omicron cases, which again, I guess you could say, gives us memories of lockdowns and some of the other things that we previously have gone through that created, some economic, I guess, slowdowns and problems.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nadeem, for all the information. That's all we have for you today. So as usual, thank you so much for joining us and bringing your chai with you. And if you do have any other questions, feel free to put them in the comment section below. And from me, Nadeem, thank you so much and see you next week.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Nadeem Mian, Portfolio Manager, registered as an advising representative, and Shamil Devji, Financial Advisor, registered as a dealing representative with Sharia Portfolio Canada Inc., a portfolio manager registered in the provinces of Ontario, British Columbia, and Alberta. Their opinions and statements expressed in this show are their personal opinions and do not necessarily reflect those of Sharia Portfolio. They are effective as of the date of this broadcast only and are subject to change. This discussion is for general information purposes only and is not investment advice.